Life for Sarah and her son Leo was simple. It was not filled with riches or fancy things. Their home was a small apartment on a quiet street. The walls were thin, and the floors creaked, but it was filled with something more valuable than gold. It was filled with love. Sarah worked long hours at the town bakery. She would wake before the sun to bake bread. Her hands were often covered in flour. Her face was often tired. She did this every day, without complaint. She did it all for Leo. She wanted him to have a life better than hers, a life with more choices, more opportunities. Leo saw his mother's sacrifice. He saw the tired lines around her eyes. He saw her worn-out shoes by the door. He knew she gave up her own dreams so he could chase his. She would save every spare dollar, not for a new dress, not for a vacation. She saved it for his books, for his school trips, for his future. They didn't have much, but they had each other. Their evenings were spent at the kitchen table. He would do his homework. She would tell him stories about her day. These moments were their treasures. They were simple moments, but they were everything. In that small apartment, a powerful bond was built. Their life was a quiet song of dedication. Sarah never missed a school play or a parent-teacher meeting. She was always there, her smile a beacon of support from the audience. She taught him how to be kind. She taught him the importance of honesty. She taught him that hard work was a form of love. "Do your best, Leo," she would always say. "That's all anyone can ask." Her lessons were not grand lectures. They were whispered in the small moments of their everyday life. They were the foundation upon which Leo built his world. He learned that true wealth was not in a bank account. It was in the heart of the person who loved you most. As Leo grew older, his understanding deepened. He saw the world outside their small apartment. He saw the things they did not have, but he never felt poor. How could he? He was rich in his mother's love. He knew that every meal on their table, every clean shirt on his back, was a testament to her unending effort. She was his hero, not in a cape, but in a baker's apron. Her strength was his inspiration. Her love was his guide. He promised himself that one day he would repay her, not with money, but with the same kind of love and care she had always given him. It was a silent promise, a vow made in the quiet of his heart. The day Leo graduated from college was a triumph. It was not just his victory, it was theirs. He walked across the stage, his diploma in hand. He searched the cheering crowd until he found her. Sarah was sitting in the third row, tears streaming down her face. They were not tears of sadness. They were tears of pure, undiluted joy. Her son, her Leo, had done it. All the long hours, all the sacrifices, had led to this moment. He had fulfilled her dream for him. Now it was his turn to fulfill his promise to her. He knew exactly what he needed to do. His future was not just about building a career. It was about building a new life for his mother. After the ceremony, he took her to a small diner. Over coffee, he told her his plan. "Mom," he said, his voice steady and full of love, "you've worked hard enough. It's time for you to rest. I want to take care of you now. I want you to retire." Sarah just looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. Retire? The thought had never crossed her mind. Work was all she had ever known. It was how she showed her love. Leo reached across the table and held her flour-dusted hands. "Please, Mom, let me do this for you. Let me give you back some of the peace you've given me. It's my turn." It took some convincing. Sarah was a proud woman. She was not used to being taken care of, but she saw the determination in her son's eyes. It was the same determination she had seen when he studied late into the night. She saw his love, pure and simple. Finally, she nodded, a slow smile spreading across her face. A weight she didn't even know she was carrying began to lift from her shoulders. The idea of waking up without an alarm clock, of reading a book in the middle of the day, felt like a distant dream. Leo was making that dream a reality. The promise he had made to himself was now a promise he was making to her. Leo found a new apartment for them. It was bigger, with a small garden in the back. He filled it with comfortable furniture and her favorite flowers. He wanted her to be comfortable. He wanted her to feel cherished. This was not about paying back a debt. You can never repay a mother's love. This was about gratitude. It was an expression of the deep appreciation he felt for every sacrifice she had made. His goal was simple, to make her remaining years her best years. He wanted her days to be filled with laughter, not labor. He wanted her to know every single day how much she meant to him. The months that followed were like a beautiful, sunlit dream. Life slowed down. For the first time in decades, Sarah woke up to the sound of birds, not an alarm clock. She discovered the simple joy of a morning cup of tea in her new garden. She watched the flowers Leo had planted begin to bloom. She read books she had always wanted to read. She took long walks in the park. She and Leo spent their evenings together, not with homework between them, but with shared stories and laughter. They cooked together, trying new recipes. They watched old movies, the ones that made her laugh until she cried. It was a season of pure, simple happiness. Leo loved seeing his mother so relaxed. The tired lines around her eyes seemed to fade away. They were replaced by a look of contentment. He saw a playful side of her he had never seen before. She would tell him funny stories about the customers at the bakery. She would try to teach him how to bake, and they would end up covered in flour, laughing in the kitchen. He learned more about her in those few months than he had in his entire life. He learned about her childhood, her dreams before she had him, her favorite songs. He was not just her son anymore. He was her friend, her companion. They took small trips. They drove to the coast and walked along the beach, feeling the sand between their toes. They visited a museum she had always wanted to see. These were not grand adventures. They were small, precious moments woven together to create a tapestry of joy. Leo cherished every single one. He would watch her as she looked out at the ocean, a peaceful smile on her face. In those moments, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was why he had worked so hard. This was the purpose of his success. It was to see that smile on his mother's face. It was to give her the world she had so freely given him. One afternoon, as they sat in the garden, Sarah turned to him. "Leo," she said softly, "thank you." He knew she wasn't just thanking him for the apartment or the retirement. She was thanking him for this time, for this gift of peace. "You don't have to thank me, Mom," he replied. "This is my joy." And it was true. Taking care of her, spending this time with her, was the greatest joy of his life. He felt like he was finally giving back a small piece of the universe she had given him. Their bond, always strong, grew even deeper during this golden season. It was a time of shared laughter, quiet companionship, and a love that filled every corner of their home. Life has a way of turning the page when you least expect it. Their season of joy was interrupted by a visit to the doctor. It was just for a persistent cough, they thought, a simple checkup. But the news was not simple. The doctor's words were heavy and cold. It was cancer, and it was advanced. The world tilted on its axis. The sunlit days suddenly felt dimmer. The future, which had seemed so bright and full of promise, was now shadowed by uncertainty. In that sterile doctor's office, Leo held his mother's hand. It was his turn to be strong for her, just as she had always been for him. Sarah faced the news with the same quiet grace she had faced every other challenge in her life. She did not cry or complain. Instead, she turned to Leo and said, "I'm so glad we had this time together." Her words were a gift. They were a reminder of the beautiful months they had shared. In the weeks that followed, their roles reversed completely. Leo became her full-time caregiver. He made sure she was comfortable. He read to her. He sat by her bedside, holding her hand, telling her stories of their happy times. He was no longer just her son. He was her anchor in a stormy sea. She taught him his final lesson in those last days. She taught him about courage in the face of the unknown. She taught him about accepting what you cannot change, and she taught him that love does not end when life does. One quiet evening, she turned to him, her voice a faint whisper. "You kept your promise, Leo," she said. "You took good care of your mom. I'm so proud of you." A single tear rolled down his cheek. He leaned in and kissed her forehead. "I love you, Mom," he whispered back. She smiled, a faint, peaceful smile. A few hours later, she passed away, quietly in her sleep. The baker, the hero, the mother, was at rest. After she was gone, the silence in the apartment was deafening. But Leo was not filled with regret. He was filled with a deep, aching sadness, but also with immense gratitude. He was grateful for her life, for her love, for every sacrifice. And he was grateful that he had been able to keep his promise. He had given her a season of peace. He had filled her last days with comfort and love. He had been there until the very end. Her love had been the guiding force of his life. And in fulfilling his promise to her, he found a peace of his own. The bond they shared was not broken by death. It was eternal.